back to Rating the List, where we review, discuss, and reimagine popular movie lists objectively. We're your hosts. I'm Jerry.
And I'm Brad. And on this episode, we'll be exploring number 62 from AFI's 100 Years, 100 Passions, the 100 Greatest Love Stories of All Time.
All right, and number 62 is The Apartment, directed by Billy Wilder, released in 1960, starring Jack Lemmon and Shirley McClaine.
And the synopsis for this romantic comedy is as follows. C.C. Bud Baxter, played by Jack Lemmon, is a lonely man working at a New York City insurance company. To climb the corporate ladder, he allows 4 executives to conduct their extramarital affairs at his apartment. Jeff Sheldrake, the personnel manager, promises Bud a promotion but also demands the use of the apartment, beginning that night. As compensation for the short notice, he gives Bud theater tickets for that evening. Bud asks his secret crush, Fan Kubelik, played by Shirley McClaine, the building elevator operator, to join him. She agrees, but first needs to meet up with an old fling, who turns out to be Sheldrake. Sheldrake dissuades her from breaking up with him, promising he is divorcing his wife. They head to the apartment while Bud waits outside the theater stood up. At the company Christmas party, Sheldrake's secretary tells Fran Sheldrake has had many affairs, including one with her. Later, Fran confronts Sheldrake about it at the apartment. He professes genuine love for her, but departs to his family as usual. Bud, having realized Fran is Sheldrake's mistress, lets himself be picked up by a woman at a bar. When they arrive at the apartment, he finds Fran passed out in his bed from an apparent suicidal overdose of sleeping pills. He chases the bar woman off and enlists the help of his neighbor, Dr. Dreyfus. Over the next couple of days, Bud cares for her and they develop a bond. He confesses his own suicidal attempt over an unrequited love. Fran says she's always suffered bad luck in her love life. Fran's brother-in-law, Carl, goes to the office looking for her. One of the execs points him to the apartment. Once he arrives, Bud deflects Carl's anger over Fran's wayward behavior. Sheldrake learns his secretary tipped off Fran about his affairs and promptly fires her. The secretary retaliates by informing Sheldrake's wife, who promptly throws him out. Sheldrake believes the situation makes it easier to pursue Fran. Sheldrake once again expects Bud to loan out the apartment again. Bud, who has been promoted, gives Sheldrake his executive washroom key instead of the one to the apartment, declaring he's decided to be a mensch, and quits. That night, at a New Year's Eve party, Sheldrake indignantly tells Fran Bud quit. Realizing she's in love with Bud, she abandons Sheldrake and runs to Bud. She arrives at his door and hears a pop that sounds like a gunshot. Fearing he's again attempted suicide, she frantically bangs on the door. Bud opens it, holding a bottle of champagne, celebrating starting anew. The two settle down to resume the game of gin rummy that Carl interrupted.
All right. So this was a good movie.
This is a really good movie.
It's really good. They have a lot of chemistry together. Shirley McClaine is super cute. She looks like a little Pixie.
Yeah, she's so young in this.
She was 20 years old.
It's really funny. So, we watched this movie and she's like 20 years old, and then we're, like a night later we're watching Only Murders in the Building, which is a TV show on Hulu, and she happens to be on it, and she's it's current, so it's kind of interesting to see her being like 20 years old and then seeing her
like in her 80s.
It's like within the course of a day, and she's still fantastic.
Yeah, she's a great actress. And Jack Lemmon, I love this guy.
Jack Lemmon has a lot of accolades in his career, but I still don't know if he got his due at just how fantastic he is.
He's so great. He's great in this movie. I absolutely love him in The Odd Couple. Yeah. It's just great. And I feel like he might have started this with this movie. He might have started this character, because he's lovable and he's a good man, but he's, a little neurotic and unlucky. It feels like a Hollywood trope that has really been with us for a long time, but he does it very, very well.
Yeah, he owns that.
Yeah,
he really
for
does.
sure. For sure. Great story, interesting. It was really showing like the dark underbelly of the 1950s, 60s.
I don't even know if it's that. I have heard of this kind of thing happening even like in today's society where, you know, like company executives maybe not necessarily use like an underling's, you know, apartment, but they kind of...
The company probably owns an apartment for that reason.
There are a lot of companies that do corporate housing, like especially if they've got workforces that kind of move around a lot, and that kind of stuff is rife for this kind of stuff. I mean, if you work at any kind of decent sized company, stuff like this tends to come up. The more people you have, the more shenanigans are probably going to take place.
Sorry, we have 2 dogs, and sometimes they bark.
Yeah.
And they play together as well. And now our Poe, the oldest, is staring out the window, barking, protecting us. So you'll hear that throughout. So he, so they, like, use this apartment to, like, bring their mistresses to, or just even, like, one-night stands to, you know, just have affairs and you know, he sits there and, you know, he works, you know, he just sits at the office for extra hours when he knows that one of these guys is going to be there. And, you know, it's like he's got like 4 guys doing this, so it's sometimes like 4 days a week. It's like that he's like not in his apartment. I mean, I think he does do it for a reason to like to get promoted. And it's all about that. But I also think it's because he doesn't know how to say no. Maybe as well. But like, I mean, I guess the question would be, and we don't see this because it doesn't happen on screen, is how this all started in the first place. Mm-hmm. Like, how would these guys have known to approach this guy? He probably offered it to one guy, and then maybe like, you know, just word got around, and then all of a sudden there's 4 guys, and then eventually 5 guys with Sheldrake, who. We have our second Fred McMurray sighting on this list, he was in, what was it, Double Indemnity? Yeah. Yeah, so he plays a good bad guy. He really does. He does. He plays a good sleazeball. And he's not known for that. Yeah. I mean, he's like the, you know, like the 50s, like, sitcom dad. Yeah. The guy that plays the doctor that lives next door and his wife are great. Yeah. Like, they are, like... There's an underlying running thing where, you know, they think that he's the one that brings home all these women. They think he's a playboy because they see all these, like, women coming in and out of his apartment, and it's, like, a different woman every night, so they think this guy is just a player. Yeah. So they have this judgment of him, of who he is, which isn't true. But they have really good chemistry throughout the whole thing, and, she's very much her own person. Like, it seems like she comes off as very independent. However, she's got this dependency on a married man, which sucks. Which sucks, and it's kind of, you know, it's, unfortunately, it still happens today. Not as much as it did back then, but, I mean, she was, you know, she's from a time and a place when, you know, unfortunately, women tended to have to get married to be able to, you know, take care of themselves, unfortunately. But I don't think she was doing that because of this. I think she was in love with this guy. She was. She for sure was. And I know they end up together, Jack Lemmon and Shirley McClaine. But honestly, I feel like she should have just got some therapy. Like, she's attempted suicide a couple times. She's kind of like... She's fragile. She's very, very fragile. Like, she should have instead of getting together with Jack Lemmon, honestly, I really think she should have gotten therapy. Well, yeah, that's probably the case, but they're kind of, I mean, you can tell that they're taking it slow, right? Yes. I mean, they haven't even really shared a kiss. They don't really share a kiss in this movie at all. No, they don't. I mean, she kisses him the one time when he deflects things with her brother-in-law and makes it look like everything was her fault and hides the fact that she tried to kill herself, which gets him promptly, you know, slugged out by this guy, and, you know, she kisses him, like, and thanks him on her way out, but that's really it. They don't kiss
when she arrives on New Year's Eve.
No, they just sit down and play rummy.
They hug, but
yeah,
they just they sit down and re-establish the game that they were playing when the brother-in-law showed up the last time. So, it was just kind of one of those things where, those couple of days was establishing their budding relationship. And I think just from her standpoint, this guy was doing things a lot differently than any other guy that she's been with.
Well, she even said, she's like, I've never dated a nice guy and nice man.
And he's genuinely doing that. I mean, he makes this spaghetti that really, really makes me sad watching him cook it. But
yeah, that's true. But he tries.
He does try, and he strains it with a tennis racket. Which is hilarious.
It's funny. But yeah, there's a lot of funny moments, a lot of good dialogue, a lot of interesting things happening in this movie. This movie also won Best Picture, Best Actor, Actress, and Best Screenplay.
All deserved.
Yeah, and also Billy Wilder also directed Some Like It Hot, Sabrina, and Sunset Boulevard.
He was much more known as a playwright, but just another kind of a Hollywood legend. His stories are kind of known for their dialogue, and this movie has great dialogue. There's a lot of great dialogue between him and the executives. She has a lot of great dialogue. I actually like how the women characters are portrayed in this movie. Yes. Which in that time period you don't get a lot of I love the secretary.
Oh yeah, she's a hard ass.
She's a hard ass. And even the women that are going out with these guys, they're not dumb.
No.
They're doing it for their own means. They're in it for reasons. They know that they are sleeping with married men, and they know it's not going to lead to a proposal.
They're just in it for a good time. They're looking for a good time.
They're in it for a good time, for gifts, for that kind of thing. And the only one who's kind of not in that place is Fran. She's in love with Sheldrake, and she's really hoping that he'll decide to leave this wife that he says that he's not in love with and be with her.
Yep.
And it takes her a really long time to realize that that's not going to happen, and that's really realistic. I mean, if you've ever known any woman who's gone out with a married man and has expectations that their relationship is going to ultimately win out.
Let's quote from a movie that is further on down the list.
Okay.
I don't think he's ever going to leave him. Marie, nobody thinks he's ever going to leave her. Did I say him?
You did.
I said, oops. But yeah, that's when Harry met Sally. Anyway, yeah. So, and then Jack Lemmon plays a great drunk guy.
Yeah. The scene where the woman picks him up in the bar is really, really funny.
It's really great. And then they go back to his house, and it's a lot of fun. So, highly recommend this movie.
This is a really, really good one. So, we both gave this movie a 69. So, therefore, the list's score is also 69. That's what she said.
Dude.
And I don't know, there's not a whole lot more to say about this. Really enjoyable. I would definitely recommend checking this movie out if you've never seen it. If you have seen it, it's worth another watch. It really ages well, and it's just a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. All right, so if you would like to comment, talk about The Apartment, or have questions or anything like that, you could comment on this video. Please like and subscribe. And then also, if you would rather send us a private message, please send it to ratingthelist@gmail.com. So for now, I'm Jerry.
And I'm Brad.
And we're Rating the List. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.